Louie, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Maulik. It's a pleasure to be here.
I have to tell you, I have been looking forward to this conversation because I'm super fascinated by the multi-dimensional life you have lived to date. When I look at your life, you are a cancer survivor, you are a mixed martial arts champion, you have run triathlons, you have participated in marathon, not just anywhere, but at the North Pole. But today, I want to specifically talk about your latest claim to fame. You are the final two at the Apprentice One Championship. So my first question to you is, are you the one? Are you bringing home the Apprentice title back to the Philippines?
Maulik, as much as I'd like to answer your question, I'm bound by the contract, and I can't say that as of now. So you'll have to watch the show, which airs next week on Independence Day.
Oh, wow. June 12th.
Yes, sir. The Apprentice One Championship edition airs on TV5 at 11 p.m. every Saturdays, on AXN every Thursdays at 8:50 p.m., and on One Sports, it's streamed every Thursdays at 9 p.m.
Oh, okay. So probably within a week, we'll find out whether you're the one or not. But maybe you can give us a hint. Have you started packing for Singapore?
Okay, so I haven't packed my bags, but I've kept my passport updated in the event that I do fly.
Wow.
So, so packing my bags, I can probably do that in a day or two.
We wish you all the best. I have to tell you this, that since you have been surviving so many of these elimination rounds at the Apprentice competition, people are starting to warm up to what's going on. From what I gather, there is actually a huge billboard on C5 with your picture where, people are saying we are rooting for you. So I hope you feel the love and affection and the support from the country.
Of course, I've received a tremendous amount of love and support from a lot of people who are close to me, people I've seen as acquaintances throughout the years. It's amazing how much pride, national pride, everyone has, when you're up there and representing the country. Regarding the billboards, I have not seen them personally. I was actually informed a couple of months ago that from One Championship that they were going to be putting up the billboards, and they asked if I could go around and take photos, but I said, it's the lockdown, and nobody can go anywhere anyways. But since the lockdown restrictions have been eased up and they've been lifted actually here in Metro Manila, I've never really taken the time to go around and look at my face that they say is staring them every time there's traffic. It's I think it might be a very surreal experience that I'm not ready for.
Let's rewind a little bit and share with us how this whole experience started. Most people didn't even know, Louie, that there was an audition for the Apprentice One Championship. Mm-hmm. How did you find out about it? And I believe this happened last year, right?
Yes, it was actually coming from a trip from Bali with my wife. We found out about it through social media channels, and it was actually on Facebook, on Instagram, and on the One Championship website. And when I found out about it, I actually questioned myself if I should join, because I really felt that it was a long shot. One of the guidelines, one of the rules in the audition was said, this is going to be open from the ages of 18 to 40, and I was already 41, I was already 42. Okay. So I said, this is never going to happen. I'm overaged. But my wife just kind of convinced me, just try it. You'll never know. And so I did. And part of the audition was actually to send a 1-minute video about yourself, answering the question why you should be the one? Why should it be the apprentice? So I did send I think it was a 40-minute video, 40-second video talking about me doing mixed martial arts, me running the North Pole, and being in corporate and teaching. And I think I packaged it in such a way that got Chatry's attention, because he goes through every audition video personally. And I got a call back in August. And in August, I had a series of interviews, first with the lead writer, then with the producer, then finally with Chatry, who was very excited and saying that, you're in, pack your bags, you're going to Singapore.
So you got accepted to be part of this process. Did you take some time to think about what your strategy is going to be? Because, when you look at a lot of the reality TV shows, you got to have some strategy. It's not just about the mental or the physical toughness, but it's also about how cunning you are or how strategic you are.
This is a very interesting question, Maulik, because towards the end of the show, so I think it was in episode 10. We're in episode 12 now. So towards the end of this season of the Apprentice One Championship edition, people thought that I was actually very strategic and, in a way, it was sneaky. But to be very transparent about it, I did not really have a strategy going into the competition. And there's a specific reason why that is so. I was telling my wife that if I did have a strategy, the problem is that strategy might change midway. And knowing myself, it would take me some time to kind of like realign and rethink and, reassess the whole situation. And I felt that if I did that, that would slow me down. So what I did was, in preparation for the apprentice, for the actual business challenges, for the actual physical tasks, during the lockdown period, which I knew was going to happen for 14 days when we got to our hotel in Singapore, I got myself really, I tried to be very physically fit. I read a lot of books, and, I kind of like got into the zone, like, how I would be like in front of Chatry. And this is something I usually practice, when I prepare for meetings anyways and in presentations. It was not really completely different. It wasn't really completely different from what I used to do back in corporate. The only, probably if I kind of think about it right now, the only strategy I had was to just keep on winning every business challenge. Of course, that didn't happen as much as I'd like it to, but yeah, that was the only strategy that I really have. And, open my mouth only when it was necessary, because that's just who I am.
So the entire recording of this event, this process was done in Singapore, right? So you actually had to go to Singapore and spend a couple of months there. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that experience. I mean, this was all happening while we are all going through the pandemic.
So it was actually the very first challenge I had with The Apprentice. Mm-hmm. When I got to the airport, we actually got held up by immigration, and I actually was held up together with the other Filipina contestant or candidate. And it was her first time flying overseas. Actually, it was her first time flying anywhere. And it was, hats off to her. She was very calm. She was very cool about it. But I had to explain to the immigration officer that, we're participating in the show, we're representing the country, and this was something very significant for all of us. So she didn't initially believe me because she was kind of saying, like, who would be doing a TV shoot during this pandemic? But I had, I had very strong documentation with me. I had a paper from the Ministry of Health. I had a paper from, the Department of Labor of Singapore and the Ministry of Labor in Singapore. And, these were enough to convince her to let me fly. But it was also a good thing that we were there very, very early. Otherwise, we would have missed our flight.
But then once you got in, you had to, as you mentioned earlier on, you had to spend 14 days in
That's
quarantine.
correct.
And in Singapore, they are extremely strict about it, right? So,
Yes.
you're stuck in your hotel room for 14 days. And that's the time that you use to meditate and visualize and read and prepare for this competition, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing as my preparations for my fights. I would say that, or my competitions for triathlon. I think that there's only so much you can do when it's crunch time. So the preparation really comes a few months or a few days or even years before that. In this case, I think that ever since I found out in August, I was really keeping myself, physically fit. And I was actually, doing some role plays with my wife. Like, what if Chatri asks this, or what if a candidate says this? What would we do? And I think that role play kind of helped. But then again, like I said, I don't really have that overarching strategy because I was so confident in my abilities, and I felt that I really understood the industry. I kind of related myself to Chadri and understanding how difficult it is to put up a business around, very very strong alpha males, athletes,
Yep.
and alpha males and alpha females.
Yes.
So I think that having that kind of mindset really prepared me well. During the 14-day quarantine, I didn't even think a lot about the competition. I was actually watching a lot of the news, and also on the 10th day, we were tested. So that was just an interesting experience. It was my first experience with a swab test.
But finally, you passed all of that, and you met with the remaining 15 candidates, right? And they came from all over the world. And just like you, they also have unique, very eclectic background in their lives as well. Were you nervous? Did you feel threatened when you met the fellow candidates? Were you insecure, or you felt like, I can hold my own here?
That actually didn't happen to me. Again, I mean, when I prepare for a challenge, in an MMA fight, running the North Pole, I would be lying if I said that I didn't feel anxiety. Of course
Sure.
I do. But that anxiety is from within, not being able to perform well. It's never anxiety because someone would be better than me, because I already expect that. I'm not the best. Somebody could be better than me in some way, or in a certain skill. And when I met the other 15 contestants, the thing that went through my head was that all of these people are here for a reason. First is that they're hungry. They have the drive to win the competition. Second is that they're talented and they're skilled. They're very intelligent. That's the reason why they're here. And third, I think that Chatri saw some potential in them, the greatness that he sees in every individual that he meets. So, putting that all together, I don't really feel that way because, when you're faced with your opponent, especially in a cage where, they lock the cage and you start to fight, you don't really think about, okay, he's going to punch me, he's going to hurt me. You actually think about hurting him more than you think about him hurting you.
That's right.
I mean, that should be your mindset. You always think about how you're going to be beating all of these 15 candidates. And that's it.
Of course.
And that's never from a perspective of strong emotion and, negative emotion,
Yeah.
I think that's, if you have that, then you're not cut out for this competition.
Totally. That's the right mindset to have. Now, tell us a little bit about what was the schedule for you. So obviously you survived all the way until the end. We'll find out on June 12th what happens after that. But I'm sure they put you through a very rigorous schedule. What was your day like?
Okay, so to put it into context, if this were a regular production schedule, we would have shot it in probably 4 to 6 months. That's what production said. But he had to compress the whole production schedule into 3 months at the most. So what would happen is that instead of a weekly challenge, the challenges were happening every 3 days or every 4 days. So it was actually 2 business challenges per week. So I'm going to give that as an overview. But on a day-to-day level, we would be waking up from 5 to 6 a.m. And we had to be ready by 5 to 6 a.m. because we would be transported to the location where we would be shooting the physical task. So the physical task is the first thing that we did every day.
Okay.
I mean, not every day, but that would be the first thing that we would do the first day of the week and the middle of the week, because it's like one day you're given the physical task and the business challenge, and you have to work on the business challenge for the next 2 to 3 days, then another physical task and business challenge. So that happened at the start of the day and until lunchtime when we would take a break. And after lunch, we would head on to the business challenge. And once the business challenge is given, so they give us a dossier and they explain the objectives and whatever of the business challenge, what we need to accomplish, we would be working on the business challenge the whole afternoon until the evening. And in the average, we would be sleeping at 2 a.m. every single day.
Wow. And waking up at 4 o'clock?
Well, after the first day, we would be waking up on our own time. But the thing with competitions like these, you don't really wake up at the time you want. So we would be waking up at 6 a.m. or 7 at the latest to get back to work to ensure that we would be able to deliver a pitch that would be, very well accepted by the judges on the third day. So that's how we did it.
And you also had to go through some very strenuous physical activities. In fact, I remember from one of the episodes, I thought that was quite life-threatening, in my opinion, where they staged the helicopter crash into the open water and you had to free yourself from the seat. You had to open the window and swim up and get on the raft. I mean, when I looked at that, I would have freaked out. I mean, I don't think I would have gone through that. But how was that experience for you?
The interesting thing about the physical challenges is that I think in my lifetime, I've done a lot of crazy things that I don't think any of the physical tasks actually kind of surprised me. I mean, modesty aside, I've done a lot of things. When one of the very first physical tasks was actually to, climb down a ladder from the bridge in I think Sentosa Island. And I've done that because I'm actually a reserve in the Navy now, but I used to be a reserve as well in college. I've done a bit of rappelling, so I'm not really scared of heights. Now with the helicopter simulation, I've done a little something similar to that, but I didn't have the experience of the helicopter crash, just turning upside down and swimming out.
That's right.
But I didn't really worry about that because, as a triathlete, you'd be swimming for certain kilometers or miles, and you get used to the fact that you have to be in the water for so long. Yeah. So I think that kind of prepared me. Unconsciously, I guess, for the situation. But most of all, I think the reason why I didn't worry so much was because there was actually a very systematic and rigid process to get out of that situation. And if you paid close attention to your instructor, then there is absolutely nothing to worry about. There are 4 steps. Basically, you brace, you ensure that that your nose is clipped and no water can go into your nostrils, and you latch yourself and you kick the door open. You kick the window open. So, I mean, these are the steps, and if you practice them really well, and if you keep a calm disposition, I think you are going to survive that particular situation.
Yeah, it's just a bit disorienting in the beginning, but if you're used to the water and to your point, if you've done triathlons, then it's a piece of cake.
This is something I'll compare it to.
Yeah.
In my MMA competitions, I've been slammed and I've been continuously punched in the face. And during these moments, you have to be very, very conscious about your movements. So what are you going to do when someone is putting a lot of pressure in you, trying to hurt you, trying to submit you, trying to knock you out? And these situations have, I think, prepared me already for these kinds of competitions. So I look back on it and say, like, okay, it's not like I haven't done these things, but I'm grateful that I actually experienced them because one of the instructors was actually Filipino, and it made it really comfortable for me to understand the process, and that really helped.
You're going to inspire a lot of people to become part of these reality TV shows, even Apprentice again in the next season. What would be your advice to them? How do they go about preparing for the audition and then the actual competition?
Okay. As I've said, the preparation is key. So you have to be prepared, you have to be willing, and you have to be able. So it's not enough that you're willing. If you're willing to take on the challenge, of being in the apprentice, but you're not really capable of leading teams, you're not capable of contributing, then forget it. If you are capable, but you're not willing, then forget it as well, because your spirit will falter down the line, especially when the going gets really, really tough. Now, the other thing that I would encourage people to do when they join the apprentice is to filter the noise and focus on what's important. Because, people will be spreading rumors, there's going to be drama, there's going to be a lot of hearsay, and people are just going to be creating a lot of discord to the point that sometimes you won't be able to trust yourself. So I say this all the time, even to my team. You have to filter the noise and focus on what's important.